the closest analogy I can make is Paula Deen. When it came out, Paula Deen said the N-word, and she said in a court case that she had used it in the past, and then then all this other stuff happened. And I was thinking, like, is it breaking news that an old Southern white woman in Georgia used the N-word in the past? And are we surprised by that? And then Phil Robertson, and I can tell you, I've met his son. I interviewed him, and I met his daughter-in-law, Jessica, Jeff and Jessica Robertson. And I posted a video on YouTube, and they were super nice people. I did after the interview. It was a group interview with me and a guy of radio station and another person. And at the end, I had to get the selfie, right, and to make my redneck friends jealous that I met a Duck Dynasty guy. And so Jessica actually, I couldn't figure out my phone because it was on video, not still. And so she actually said, "Oh, let me do it." And so she took the picture of me and Jep. So they were super nice. And now during the conversation, they talked about religion. She did, and I think he affirmed it, that they're big into, their religious beliefs. So it wasn't controversial at all. They were at a parade and stuff, but we had like 10 minutes with them, and it was an interesting interview. And I asked more about like what's it like to have your life on TV and that sort of stuff. So then Phil Robertson, who's his dad and is the patriarch of the show, said in a GQ magazine article, and I'm sharing this with the audience, but you guys can't see it. He said there are two quotes. One one has been taken out of context, and one hasn't. And then the YouTube video, which is actually worse. This one says he says it seems to me, this is the controversial quote. It says, "It seems to me a vagina as a man would be more desirable than a man's anus. That's just me. I'm just thinking there's more there. She's got more to offer. I mean, come on, dudes. You know what I'm saying? But hey, sin. It's not logical, my man. It's just not logical." And the other quote where they said I've heard it said that he was comparing it to bestiality, but really that's not the case. If you look at the quote, again, this is from GQ magazine, start with homosexual behavior and just morph out from there. Bestiality, sleeping around with this woman and that woman and that woman and those men. Then he paraphrases Corinthians, "Don't be deceived, neither the adulterers, the idolaters, the male prostitutes, the homosexual offenders, the greedy, the drunkards, the slanderers, the swindlers, they won't inherit the kingdom of God. Don't deceive yourself, it's not right." Now there's also this, I found it from a tweet from this humorous Twitter thing. He said, this is a sermon he gave, I think, a couple years ago. He said gays are insolent, arrogant, God-haters who invent ways of doing evil. Now, I haven't watched the whole thing. It's 50 minutes. I just didn't have time to prep him for the show. But one thing, the thing was that he referred to gay people as God-hating, right? And my first thought is there are gay churches. There are gay pastors. Maybe they don't believe the way he believes. And then this is a complicated issue because if you watch some of these shows on Sunday morning on your local television station, a lot of them are basically saying the same thing, but just obviously in a more politically correct manner. So this is a very complicated issue. On the one hand, the result of this was there was an outcry from various organizations, and he's been suspended from the program. Now, Duck Dynasty is a huge program. It's the most popular show in the history of all cable television. Their merchandise, if you've gone into a store like a Walmart or something, and you see all these Duck Dynasty products, they're projected this year to do $400 million just in merchandise, right? So basically, it's a $1 billion a year enterprise. And their actual business is they make duck calls. And so on the one hand, it's like...
Wait, for duck hunting.
yeah, I mean, duck calls. So anyway, I'll finish up my synopsis here. A&E announced that they're suspending Phil, who's the father, and the guy I interviewed was one of his sons, and then there's grandkids. It's a big family. It's a reality program highlighting basically, you know, sort of a southern redneck family out in the woods and doing funny stuff. And I'm not in any way surprised, based on what I've heard and seen, that he would say something like this, because it's kind of the reason they're stars is because they're kind of outlandish. And also, these views were not spoken in an articulate manner the way you would see a preacher on Sunday giving the same views, but they're basically the same views. So A&E suspended him, which means basically if they don't fix this, it's the end of the show, because I can't imagine the rest of the family continuing with this without the patriarch at the helm. And frankly, I don't think I've weighed in except on one comment on a post that Pam showed me. This is it was a really good post, and I think I saved it here, from Rory S. And it's he showed this meme. Let me screen share here. It was a picture of Phil, and he said, if you're pissed off about this redneck getting fired for expressing his opinions, then please do the following. Stand up in your workplace and talk about how God hates fags and how places where black people live are dangerous. Then let me know if you're still employed. Now, if you know Rory, you realize this was a conversation starter, and boy did it. It was one of the most intelligent and interesting conversations I've participated in a long time. I'm sure Pam will agree, because she's the one who drew my attention to it.
Yeah, and
it got trolled a little bit at the end. So let me throw it to you, Pam.
Yeah, I was just gonna say, just to
go ahead and advance this topic and tell us what you think.
A lot of Roy's posts are not intelligent and thoughtful. He does them every once in a while, and he's an extremely intelligent man who likes to troll. So, you know, what can I say? But I completely agreed with Roy's post, and I have to tell you, I've had, this is going to sound horrible, I've had over 30 jobs in my life, and you know, as soon as you collect a paycheck, you agree to the terms of employment, and in this case, this family, I don't care what their beliefs are. I, in fact, agree with their right to say whatever, you know, but they can't do something to put their company in jeopardy. They just can't do it. And they did. They went out and publicly said something that created issues, and they should not have done it. And A&E kind of had no choice but to take action here. I don't think I personally don't think that they did at all.
But I don't necessarily agree with that, Pam. And to be honest,
and that's okay that you don't agree with it. But the you know, the thing is that A&E and a lot of other big media companies have these morality clauses and these other clauses that say, you know, your life belongs to us. They've made a crap load of money off of A&E, and you know what? They should have towed the line, and they can have whatever beliefs that they want, but they keep them to themselves until after they're done with the show.
But that's not why they're famous, and that's not why they're on A&E, and that's not why 14 million people tune in every week to that stupid show, okay? It's not a show that I'm familiar with or that I even watch. But because they have opinions, and because they're controversial, and because they are from this little Louisiana backwater kind of community, that's why people watch them, because they're intrigued. What he stated was not condemning a lifestyle, but what he was stating were his beliefs. And in this country, people have a right to their beliefs. There's over, I think there's something like...
you have a right to your beliefs, but you don't have a right to disparage another group
he didn't disparage
with your beliefs. Oh, he sure did. Oh, yes, he did.
No, listen, hold on. I want to...
So just so you know, both are protected. Religion is protected, and sexual orientation are both protected by the same by the same federal law, the Civil Rights Act
Did
of
you
1964.
actually read the quotes though, Pam? That
Yes,
he
I
said.
did.
Yeah,
Yes,
okay,
I did.
hang on
Of
one
course.
second. Jody, here, let me. I'm going to go to Alan in a second, but because Alan didn't want me to talk about this, and he disagrees with me on this, I think.
No, they're doing fine on their own. You really don't need to go.
Okay,
To me.
here's the thing. No, I want to. Oh, we're still going to Alan. Okay, so here's my point. The First Amendment is a multifaceted instrument. I'm a newspaper publisher, right? It said you have the right to freedom of speech. It didn't clarify that means you can write, right? But it's accepted that way and interpreted that way. So freedom of speech can be expressed in a number of ways. It could be when some backward redneck guy says something inflammatory. Freedom of speech could be whether a big cable channel decides whether or not to hire that person. Freedom of speech can be exercised by an independent group like GLAAD or a Christian fundamentalist group exercising their mouthpiece to discuss the issue. Freedom of speech can be exercised by consumers deciding whether to sign a petition to reinstate said person who said the initial comment, or whether other consumers decide not to purchase those products to the tune of $400 million a year, big money. Freedom of speech could be whether Walmart decides to add more Duck Dynasty product or eliminate it. They eliminated in the Paula Dean situation. Freedom of speech is not just, it's wrong to say that because this company reacted a certain way to what this person said, that they're against freedom of speech. A&E is exercising their freedom of speech just like Phil Robertson was. Just like the consumers, just like the petition signers, just like everyone else. Freedom of speech means you can express your opinion freely without fear of government hindrance. And all of the participants in this have exercised their freedom of speech. And one guy referred to him as the Rosa Parks of the 2013 or whatever. I mean, it's like, oh my God, bit of a stretch. But Alan, I don't want to divulge too much because we had a private conversation before
fine.
this.
Then don't say anything, and I'll just tell you why you totally missed the boat.
Okay, please.
On this issue. The whole freedom of speech argument, it's totally a red herring. That's not the issue here. If you think it's the issue, then you're wrong. I'm sorry. I will have to completely disagree with you if you're trying to make this as a case for freedom of speech or freedom of religion. If you're just going to make that argument, you're missing the argument completely. The argument isn't whether he's entitled to think about these things, whether he's entitled to feel these things, whether he's entitled to express these things, whether he is entitled to practice these things personally. That's not the issue at all. The issue is whether he is a racist and a bigot and a bad person.
Who cares?
That's the issue.
No, it's not.
Yeah, it is.
It's not. That's why they're on the show, Alan. Because it's like Honey Boo Boo. I mean, people watch because it's like a freak of nature. They're curious. It doesn't necessarily mean they agree or.
Joni, I didn't say whether somebody had to watch the show to agree or disagree. The reason why this became an issue isn't over his freedom of speech, his freedom of religion. It's over the fact that there are people who, at some level, finally just can't believe that there is such intolerance still in the United States.
But you know,
it raised it to such a level that people started to notice that he was.
But of course, there's intolerance. We knew that. That's not a surprise. And not only that, but if he expressed it, so he expressed it. You don't like his opinion? Don't watch the show.
Well,
but that's why people tune in and watch it.
But you can not watch the show, which they did, and you can call him out on it, and you can say, "Hey, you're a bigot, you're a racist, you're whatever."
And
those
also
are the things you can do, and that's what people did.
And that's fine. People can call him a bigot,
right.
But here's the thing. Okay, so A&E discontinued. Well, first they took the patriarch off, right? But then the rest of the family came forward and they said they're not going to be on the show anyway without him. So, and Pam, to your point, A&E did a lot for them. They did a lot for A&E. 14 million people tuning in to watch, right? So, ostensibly, that's a ton more than tuned in to watch the season finale of Breaking Bad. So, and that's every week. That's a huge audience. I'm not part of that audience. I don't watch the show. But I guess what I object to is that here is somebody who's expressing an opinion. It's an opinion. And you can find him detestable. You can disagree with his opinion all you want, but it's an opinion. That's all it is.
So,
Right. Now, if I said the same thing, would I be called a B as well?
yes. Yes, you would.
And that's
you
know what? That's not right.
That's too bad. I would think that you were a bigot and a racist if you said what he said about blacks and gays. Sorry.
He didn't say anything derogatory about blacks. And the blacks
he did. He did. He didn't just happen to do it during the GQ interview, but he did. And so,
hey, can someone, before we label him a racist, can someone produce that quote? Because I know, like, the bestiality thing was taken out of context. He said, let me go back to it real quick to highlight this, because there is some. I don't have a problem calling someone out, but I have a problem not, calling them out incorrectly.
Right.
Here's the actual quote here, and I'm showing this on the screen for the other folks, but this is from the GQ article. Here's the actual quote. Start with homosexual behavior and just morph out from there. Bestiality, sleeping around with this woman and that woman and that woman and those men. Don't be deceived. Neither the adulterers, the idolaters, the male prostitutes, the homosexual offenders, the greedy, the drunkards, the slanderers, the swindlers, they won't inherit the kingdom of God. Don't deceive yourself. It's not right. So what he was saying was that sinners, in his view, are all the same. They're all acting against God. So to say that he was equating it, I mean, he wasn't and he wasn't. I mean, it's not fair to just say that he was saying that everyone that is gay is the same as someone. I don't know. I mean, I think that it was quoted out of context. I also think A&E is hypocritical here because while they're taking this quote-unquote moral stand and terminating or suspending him, they're also, I don't know if this is still accurate now, but as of earlier today, they're getting ready to run a big marathon of reruns of Duck Dynasty this weekend, starring Phil, right? So, I mean, I don't know. It's like they're trying to have their cake and eat it too. But go ahead and proceed, guys.
I absolutely agree with that. I do agree that A&E probably overreacted, but they had the right to do it, and that's my point. I don't agree with how A&E has treated them, but I agree with their right to do it because I am pretty sure that he violated some. What is that humming? I'm pretty sure that he violated a clause in their contract about not bringing negative light to the network by doing what he did. And I'm still looking for that. I
was going to say, maybe you can find the quote, because
the other quote, I'm trying to find it.
My impression of what the comment was that Dan read, from what I've picked up, was that is basically the Corinthian definition of sinners. So, I mean, my understanding is that he's very religious and probably takes the information that he gets from the church literally. You know, he wasn't picking on any individual. He just was feeling that was a lifestyle that he was not even that he's not in favor of, but that in his opinion would not go to heaven. And again, it's opinion. It's not.
Yeah, you know what? The Westboro Baptist Church has opinions too, and so does the KKK, and you know. So where's the line drawn? So
there is no line drawn. The freedom of speech exists not to protect mom and apple pie. It exists specifically to protect unpopular speech, because they know that if you have a committee that decides what's appropriate, as they do in Europe, that could be abused. And we talked about that earlier with the transparency report. So you have to allow freedom of speech. But as I said before, freedom of speech can be exercised in many ways. It can be exercised by Phil Robertson saying his religious views. It can be exercised by A&E deciding to suspend him, and it can be exercised by consumers deciding whether to purchase their products or view it or not, based on their reaction to the controversy. That's the larger issue. All of these things, all of these expressions of outrage are all freedom of speech that we enjoy here in the United States.
Are you ready for the quote?
Sure.
Okay. So according to, let me see who this is from. According to Jamel Bowie, a writer at the Daily Beast, okay, he said, hold on. I know. I had
it's
to
okay.
go. Okay. I never with my eyes, are you ready? I never with my eyes saw the mistreatment of any black person, said Robertson, discussing his childhood in Louisiana. The blacks worked for the farmers. I hoed cotton with them. I'm with the blacks because we're white trash. We are going across the field. They're singing and happy. He continued, I never heard one black person say, I tell you what, these doggone white people, not a word. Pre-entitlement, pre-welfare, you say, were they happy? Were they godly? Were they happy? No one was singing the blues. So in other words, well, okay, so then they go on. I'm not going to interpret any of that. So there you go. That's what he said.
So how's that derogatory?
I don't think it's derogatory. Other people have said it's derogatory.
There's several issues. The reason I say that this is a complicated issue, if you were having your car towed and the driver was uttering these same things, you would just not engage and just, because he's towing your car, right? But with these reality programs, we're taking, I mean, let's be honest here. I've met them, some of them, and these are not sophisticated, politically correct people who know how to talk to a television audience, and we're thrusting them into the spotlight. And what's interesting to me is that
I'm sorry, hang on a second, Dan. Can you just define what you mean by sophisticated? Because clearly they are sophisticated. They've built a financial empire, and they're reinforcing that financial empire by being on TV. That shows some degree of sophistication.
There's a freaking chia pet.
They have
a Duck Dynasty chia pet.
What's another?
That's sophisticated.
Well,
I'm sorry.
I don't think
they are marketing their asses off.
As the only person who's actually met them, I can tell you that they are super nice people, but they strike me as the average. Like, I'm living in Virginia in a redneck town, and this is the exact same type of comments I might expect to hear from a local redneck neighbor. And I wouldn't think anything of it. I would just, okay, how about the skins, and that's the thing. But because they're thrust in the national spotlight, they're held to a different standard.
Well, because they are employees of a broadcast cable company and are public figures, they are definitely held to a different standard.
No, the cable
just like
company
the Mel Gibson
is raping them and taking advantage of them because they are not sophisticated. I don't call chia pets sophistication. I'm sorry.
$400 million.
That whole thing. Listen, the whole merchant. They're not doing that. I mean, yeah, like, as far as sophistication, like...
Don't feel sorry for them. I'm telling you.
When I met...
They're taking advantage of their 15 minutes rather well.
When I was with Jep and Jessica, I couldn't figure out how to use my camera, and Jessica took my camera from me and did the selfie, right? She's like, oh, let me do it, and I was kind of embarrassed because I host an Android show, which is on Monday nights at 9 p.m. Eastern, our Android week. And Jessica Robertson actually was able to figure out my because I was kind of nervous, and she actually took the picture for me. And so, I mean, they're not all unsophisticated, but the patriarch of the clan is not what I would say a modern, informed guy, and they've plucked him from obscurity and put him on a national stage, and then we're all shocked when the redneck evangelical Christian guy says redneck evangelical Christian things.
I am not.
We were shocked. We were shocked. I mean, everyone was shocked when when Paula Dean, the old lady from Georgia who cooks fried food, said the N-word, and everyone's aghast. I mean, come on.
Okay.
So, this and also this is no different. The basic things he was saying is no different from what is on, in churches across the country. So
you know what?
I'm just saying,
I actually agree with Jody here. I don't think that A&E should have done what they did, but they did, and they had a right to do it.
Okay, so let me go to that topic. Let me go to that topic.
Now A&E is going to have to deal with the consequences of their decision, and I bet you anything they're going to backtrack.
They had no. Okay? There was no good way out of this.
I just don't think that everyone should vilify A&E for doing what they did, and I don't think everyone should vilify Phil for what he said. He said what comes natural. A&E did what they had to do in response to the political pressure that they got. Neither one of them made good decisions, and you know what? Neither one of them will win in the end. But to say that one company is hanging Phil from the tree of morality here, and and then the company is raping Phil, or that Phil is pleading to the right, or whatever it is, they're both wrong. They both made a mistake here. Okay. And they're both going to pay the price.
Okay, Stephen Haywood's weighing in here, and I would love for you to jump in. Stephen, just go to my profile. You should see an invite, or Alan will message you one. I'd love to have you jump in here if you can. But I got a question for Jody. Let's say, Jody, you are in charge of A&E. You have the #1 show on cable TV. 18 million viewers on the season premiere, broke the record of, including Shark Week, everything. And this happens, regardless of the topic, it's controversial. And now you're thinking, okay, so your advertisers like Geico, Ford, Progressive Insurance, whoever the advertisers are on Duck Dynasty, they don't want any piece of a controversy like this. So from a purely business standpoint, regardless of whether you agree or disagree with anything that he said or what the detractors say, you're thinking oh my God, I don't want to destroy my network with protesters outside my advertisers. And then the rep from Geico is calling up saying, what in the hell is going on? There's 1,000 GLAD protesters outside our office in Cincinnati. Fix this. And so the easiest thing to do was what they did. Now, in my opinion, what they should have done is try to come up with a carefully crafted apology of sorts to try to placate the controversy. But that probably would have not been acceptable to them, the cast, and Phil particularly, and maybe they didn't, they were in a panic or whatever, so they dumped him, knowing that when they did that, they might get a backlash because the show was, horrifically popular. So, or is, very popular, as witnessed by the fact that A&E is going to run, based on my information from 12 hours ago, a marathon of reruns. So put yourself in that position. If you're the CEO in charge of preserving the network, what would you have done in that situation?
I
Jody.
think that, yeah, I think that fundamentally, I'm not muted, okay. This is a PR stunt. I think that they've gotten a heck of a lot more interest by something like this happening than they would if he had not made these controversial statements, or ostensibly controversial statements.
A PR stunt by both sides, I'd point out.
What's that?
A PR stunt by both sides, I would point out.
Oh, yeah, absolutely, absolutely. But I also think that bottom line is that you look at somebody like Miley Cyrus, right? She did this heinous dance, they call it the twerking thing, that, what an embarrassment. I mean, her father must be so proud, and yet, what does it do? It propels her to a higher level of stardom.
But she didn't call gays bad. He
didn't call gays bad.
Oh.
What he said was, go back and read it, Pam, just like the black comment, okay? Go back and read it. What he was doing was he was citing the different things, in his opinion, that were part of Corinthians that had to do with sin. And what he said is that the sinners would not go to heaven. Now, whether you agree,
so you're saying sin isn't bad? Hang on, Jody, so you're saying sin
Alan,
isn't
I'm
bad?
sorry. Let me just finish the thought. Whether you agree with it or you don't agree with it, whether you agree with his interpretation or you don't agree with his interpretation, that's fine. But it is what it is. He was not saying that gay, he's going to take a gay person out and do something to them. Or,
I never said that. I never said, yes, it was. Yes, it was. If you subscribe to the Bible that says that you are going to, as a person, take the place of God to judge people, but that's what they do. No.
That's not what he said.
He did say that. He did say, I am religious, and this is what I believe, because this is what the book from my fictitious God says is right and wrong. It doesn't, look, it has nothing to do with him just quoting some Bible scripture. He deeply believes it, and he deeply believes it's a sin, and he actually said that in a disparaging way. You can candy coat it all you want, but having that religious belief where you discriminate against somebody else for whatever reason is wrong. It's not our job to judge. That's God's job. And while you're on earth, you can believe it's bad, but you can't judge the person because of it.
But you know what, Pam? This is part of the whole thing with this family. Okay, this is why they're popular.
I would be really pissed off if this is a publicity stunt, because you know what? It's clogging up my stream, and social media made this much worse than it really is.
Or better if it is in fact a publicity stunt.
It really. You and I might disagree fundamentally on what maybe his motivation was or what his purpose was, but the bottom line is, what he said was really controversial.
Well, Pam, I don't know that we necessarily disagree fundamentally. I think that what we're disagreeing on is what his intention was.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like, my feeling is this is a man. He's like Dan said. I mean, these are not cultured people, sophisticated in the ways of the world. They live in this backwater town in Louisiana. This is the culture that they have. I don't expect him to express the same opinion as somebody from New York City would. I just don't.
Yeah, we're in 2012, and the
it doesn't matter. That's who he is.
Then yeah,
and that's why they're popular.
I know. But at the same time, that you can't make excuses for people. I mean, it's just like, what if they were like KKK members or whatever? Is that okay? I mean, how far down that slippery slope do you want to go? In allowing people to have
an opinion.
That's right.
Yeah, we have to allow people to have opinions.
You can have an opinion as long as you don't use that opinion to discriminate against somebody else, right?
Discriminate against. He expressed his opinion. He didn't discriminate against anyone. I guess, I don't know. I mean, Dan, help me out
Maybe
here.
disparage. Disparage. There you go. Disparage somebody. you know.
I don't think in his opinion he was disparaging. Whether I think he was disparaging or not is a different story. In his opinion, from his background, from his culture, I don't think he felt.
You
that
know,
what he was
and when my grandmother told me, you know, honey, I don't mind that you married a black man, but did you have to pick one that was so dark? I mean, I really don't think that, you know, she really meant it either, but I bet you anything that if she said that in a room full of black people, that they would take offense anyway. Right? She grew up in Bartlesville, Oklahoma.
I've been to Bartlesville. There's a restaurant out there, and outside the restaurant, they had their claim to fame was that you didn't need teeth to eat their beef. That's Bartlesville.
That's funny.
That was the slogan on the restaurant. But no, I don't know what the outcome is going to be, but I find it fascinating that there's a whole, like I said, this Facebook page is probably at 2 million now, but they had
Sure.
within a matter of half a day, they had over 1 million people that are boycotting A&E until they bring the show back.
Yeah.
Because the rest of the family is standing behind the father.
Dan, how much money are you making from this controversy?
Oh, I'm at a lot.
At least 3 cents, right?
Oh no, he's making hundreds of dollars. He can come
it's more
visit
than
me.
Yeah, I'm at my interview with his son is now at 206,220 views.
Wow.
So some good has come out of this controversy. So every cloud has a silver lining.
You're just part of the marketing juggernaut that is Duck Dynasty.
I'm part of the $400 million. Yeah.
Right.
Right.
Not a huge portion of it, but
I really should have sent you some footy pajamas, Dan. Really.
I can only imagine the YouTube potential for such a thing. So we all agree. Yeah, this. What's your prediction? I'm trying to get Stephen Haywood to join, and I told him he could join audio
it depends,
or video.
It depends
I would
on
love
whether
for him to come in. I think he's scared of you.
Jody's right.
If you're scared, it's cool. Huh?
If Jody's right, then my prediction is the show will now have 16 million viewers a week. You know, but if not, I don't know.
I
mean
think
as a publicity stunt?
If it's a publicity stunt, yeah.
What they should have done is
even bigger.
try to craft some apology or whatever to keep on, because it's all about the I mean, the show doesn't work if there's no advertisers. And now I can't imagine a situation if I was on a TV show with my dad. I adore my parents. If they fired my dad or suspended him or whatever, regardless of the reason, I cannot imagine any situation where I would continue working on the show voluntarily, unless my contract absolutely, you know, I could get sued for big money if I didn't do it. I can't imagine betraying my family and not, you know, and doing a television show where my dad had been fired from it. So I can't imagine the show going forward. I think it's done, unless they can figure some PR way out of it, which is doubtful.
I would throw my parents under the bus in a second.
You say that,
but then again, you know, just so you know, I haven't spoken to my parents. I haven't spoken to my parents in 3 years. They're out of my life, so there's a difference there.
But we're talking about the Robertsons.
Yeah,
I can't imagine.
If I was really close, like if they fired my husband, then I'm gone. I don't care how much money. You know what I mean? So it just depends on the ties.
I think this family, I cannot imagine them.
I can't imagine it either.
You know,
there he is.
Play acting their show.
Okay, Dan.
Stephen made it.
Stephen is now here, and I just want to point out that we've got 35 minutes left of the show.
Okay, so we'll use. We'll go as quickly as we always do. Stephen, you're joining us, and you had some thoughts in the comments. So why don't you tell us where we're right or wrong or whatever you think.
In your opinion.
Exercise your First Amendments as Phil Robertson and A&E and the viewers and the commenters and the analysts did. Go ahead.
No, I'm just going to say this. A&E knew when they signed Duck Dynasty, their beliefs, where they stood on, they actually attacked them once before when he used Jesus' name in a prayer and said, we want you to stop it. Phil said no. They knew where they were grounded. They knew what their belief system is. They need Duck Dynasty. Duck Dynasty doesn't need them. Any other network would pick them up, and they'd be just as powerful, just as strong, just as big of a cash cow as they are now.
When you say they attacked him, what can you elaborate on that, or just explain that? Not to interrupt you, but just you threw that out there.
Oh no, they just basically they said that they were going to cut out the prayer at the end. If anybody's ever watched the show, they do a prayer at the end, and Phil says, "You do that, we're not doing the show." And so, you know, Pam keeps stating about, oh well, you know, it's in their contract and it's their job. You don't even know what's in their contract. None of us do. We're all just surmising and making these assumptions. If anything, Duck Dynasty calls the shots. These guys are not stupid. These guys are brilliant businessmen, whether they put it on TV or not. Secondly, the biggest issue here is, I agree with Alan, the biggest issue here is not freedom of speech. It's the gay community. The gays have been pushing, even since Obama's second term here, they've been pushing for acceptance. The second somebody says one derogatory thing about them or says one thing that resembles any form of hate speech, they get up in arms and try to get everybody against them. You take one Christian that comes out and says, I believe in God, they're calling him a terrorist, an extremist, a revolutionist, that they should be locked up. But nobody ever does. Wait a second, let me finish this thought. But nobody does anything about it. Everybody's just like, oh, well, they're just the Christians or they're just the minorities or whatever. But the second a gay person is under attack, well, the whole community goes up in arms because, oh, gay equality and this and that. Listen, what's fair for one group is fair for the other. Let's call a spade a spade here. Well, you're right. Apparently not. But that's what the whole thing here is. It's not about what Phil said or didn't say or what A&E did or didn't do. It's the underlying thing is here is the acceptance in the gay community. And if people aren't seeing that, then you're missing the whole point behind this.
Okay, so I want to go to Alan and then Sheila and then Pam in that order. Everyone else wait, and then you're next. After everyone else is after that. Alan, then Sheila, then Pam. Go ahead, Alan.
I'm a little disturbed that my name was used to justify some of that with Stephen's point. I guess my frustration here is I don't think this was a specific agenda item by anyone. I think there are people that felt hurt by this, and honestly, I haven't been paying attention to the issue much at all because I don't care about the guy. I just don't. But I think it's a bit of a stretch to say that people are not up in arms when other people say stupid things. There are lots of people that are critical when people say stupid things. And you see it all over the place. And that's people who say ignorant and stupid things about people who are homosexual. That's when people say ignorant and stupid things about people who are Christian. That's when people say ignorant and stupid things about people who practice any other faith as well. I see it a lot, and I think trying to say that, oh, this group is being protected and this group is not, I think is inaccurate in a lot of ways.
Okay, Sheila, what do you think about this?
Okay, you know, I don't really watch Duck Dynasty.
Are you serious? I thought you had a picture on your wall. And
maybe,
you're usually in camis when you on the show.
Maybe behind another picture somewhere, but you know.
What are your thoughts on the general issues that Stephen and Alan have been talking about, and the rest of us?
Well, you know, it goes along with the issue. You know, I'm in Utah, okay. This whole picture plays all around this whole thing too. You know, but, you know, I still stand firm that marriage is between a man and a woman, but I will not shun someone who is a same sex. Okay, I won't shun that. I have my personal reasons, but I won't shun them because they have rights too. But you know, that's my thoughts. So.
Okay, thank you for sharing them with us. Pam, what do you think? And let me see who's still here. I'm trying to balance this out here. Has Ellis gone?
Yeah, Ellis is gone.
All right, but Jody's still here. So Pam, and then we'll go to let's go to Jody after Pam, and then let's go to Sarik after that. Go ahead, Pam.
You're right that I don't know what's in the actual contract, Stephen. I can only imagine that what's in their contract is the same as what is in other contracts that are similar and have been reported, that there is a clause in there that prevents the employee from doing something to harm or disparage the company. I have such a policy at my work, and I work in biotech, so I can just imagine what a public broadcasting company would have. But as far as the gays pushing hard for acceptance, I mean, yes, they are pushing hard for acceptance, but that doesn't necessarily give them the political clout that one would need to make A&E make this decision. And the reason I'm saying that is because homosexuals make up less than 10% of the population by volume. So,
but if nobody had an issue with homosexuality, do you think this would have ever even come up in the media? I guess that was my point, and I don't want to say, I don't want to come across like I hate homosexuals.
No, I know you. No, I didn't take it that way. But people also have an issue with the religious right, and people also have an issue with evangelical Christians, and so I think it kind of balances out. I think that it's possible that some lawyers at A&E made some recommendations to HR or to the group handling this issue, and those recommendations might turn out to bite them in the ass, actually. But I don't necessarily think that this particular issue is any better or worse than Mel Gibson or Paula Deen or any number of other interesting celebrity slips over the years. It's just that it's a slow news time, and it's social media and things like that have created this viral issue of the day type of thing where, I mean, seriously, have you seen it? Are you on Google Plus? Yeah. You see the stuff in your streams on both sides, right?
Yeah. I watched the show, and I'm kind of getting annoyed of seeing all of it. But
someone dies. But someone
dies. My thing is they're blowing this out of proportion, though. I mean, come on, you got to admit that he didn't slam anybody. They asked him a question, he gave his opinion. Just like you're asking my opinion. So
you do happen to realize that GQ is their subscription base is inordinately homosexual, right?
Right. That's where I'm. See, now you're getting the whole where I'm coming from. The homosexual
slant there is. Well, but it's not. It wasn't an orchestrated thing like created to take down the Duck Dynasty. You know,
no, I'm not saying that at all. In fact, I kind of lean. I think one of you guys said it might have even be a publicity stunt that A&E's just kind of holding out on to keep
that would
it in
just
the
totally
media.
piss me off.
But I kind of somewhat agree with that to an extent. I don't think the Duck Dynasty guys are right on it in this sense, because I mean, let's face it, A&E, they're making a killing off these guys. Let's talk business here, right? They're making a killing.
It's $1 billion business. Absolutely.
They're not, Dan. I mean, irregardless of
it's almost as successful as the tech buzz.
If I'm making you $100 million a year, are you going to care if I believe in Jesus or I believe in the devil?
I wouldn't care if you believe in the spaghetti
Stephen,
monster.
That's the
thing.
point.
Stephen, I would prefer if you believed in the devil. That would make a much better show.
You know what's funny is Barack Obama is actually a big fan, and in the last correspondence dinner, I think Conan O'Brien was the lead, and there's a story I saw it. It's on Drudge Report, and it's the not the Christian Science Monitor. It's the CBN Pat Robertson's thing, and apparently they went up to some of the Robertson family and said, "Hey, can you're needed in the back," and President Obama was having a reception, his pre-speech reception, and they brought him in, and he said, "I'm a huge fan," and he said he watches Duck Dynasty on Air Force One. He loves it, and he lets his kids watch it, and so that was really interesting in retrospect, right? Because like literally today, he talked about gay, lesbian, transgender stuff in his press conference, but at the same time, this controversy is brewing, and it's a complicated issue, and I don't believe that Phil Robertson, when he said to GQ, he said, I find that a vagina is more attractive than a man's anus, right? Just to like lay it out there. That's what he said. That was the controversial thing. I don't believe that he made a choice for that. I believe that he naturally found one to be more attractive than the other. I don't believe that folks who are the opposite naturally chose that. I don't think it's like, gee, do I want to go with the A or B? Let me see.
But Dan, what if I said I'm a Caucasian? Well, I'd prefer an African American woman. So does that make me somebody that hates white people?
I don't see.
Essentially, that's exactly what he's saying. Only he's referring to genitals.
I don't see the correlation.
Well, I mean, when you get the whole race and you get the whole you get into hate speech and everything like that.
I'm not convinced on the race thing. I'm not.
No. What I'm
not
saying
convinced
is
that it's fair to say he said anything racist. I haven't seen the evidence there yet.
They're calling it hate speech, man. That's what they're calling it. So, and they're calling it, he's racist and everything. I think you guys were even trying to pull up.
Well, I mean, there's a YouTube video that he said, homosexuals are God haters. That could be in the realm of hate speech. But that aside, I don't think it's chosen. I think it's biological.
But how is that hate speech if we have the freedom of religion and he believes in the Bible, and the Bible, he believes that what the Bible says is true, that gives him the right to say what he said. If you're going to respect the person's belief, and they believe in the Quran or they believe in the Bible,
I totally accept that. I totally accept that. He's a quote unquote King James version of the Bible believer, which omits a bunch of other books that contradict certain things. But I totally accept that. I'm also shocked that A&E didn't have a handler when this guy, who's as volatile as they come, is interviewing with someone, as someone else pointed out, is gay-friendly GQ. I mean, talk about a setup. And
that's why I think it's kind of partially somewhat of a publicity stunt.
I don't think it's a publicity stunt. I think we actually, I mean, I've met 2 of them, and they're genuine. They're nice people. They're super nice people. They're regular people like I would encounter in a coffee shop or whatever. So let's advance this because we're almost out of time here. Let's see. We got is Jody around, or we can go to Sreek?
Yeah, can I say something?
Yeah,
okay.
Sreek, go ahead. And we're literally getting up against the mandatory clock from Google, so go ahead quickly, Sreek.
Right, I'm just going to take a few minutes, that's all. I don't care about any, I don't care about Duck Dynasty, I don't care about religion, I don't care about gays.
Can you say Duck Dynasty one more time?
I don't know. How do you say how do you say that? Duck
I'm just
Dynasty?
kidding. Go ahead. Go ahead.
Right, so the bottom line is I believe in live and let live. I just have one thing to tell Stephen. I don't think what Stephen said is correct in terms of anything and everything somebody says about somebody who is gay and the entire gay community flares up and all that is bullshit. It is not the gay community trying to say that we need to be obviously right. So we know last time when this gay bill was there in I don't know what that bill was called, Defense of Marriage Act or something. The prosecutor, I mean the other side, whoever it was trying to say not from a biblical perspective, but from from a reproductive procreation perspective, this is not correct. But it's bullshit. Basically, he didn't want to bring Bible into the court, so he wanted to go by it. Dan, you and I had a discussion on this, right? It is. I mean, my thought process is, if somebody is gay, let him be gay. Let him have the equal rights. If 2 people want to live together as husband and wife or husband and husband, why the hell is a particular sect in the country, Christians or whatever it is, right, opposing that? When you oppose that, obviously, when you call somebody like a gay guy is doing a sin, what do you mean? A Christian can't be gay? A gay Christian? A Christian can't believe in Christ? I mean, a gay can't believe in... I was studying in a Catholic school. I studied till 12 years in a Catholic school, and I'm a born Hindu. I don't really give a shit about religion. I do believe in God, though. And if people start saying that they have to live by what Bible says, or the country would be a lot more better than what it is right now. But they don't, right? They don't. Everything the Bible, how many Christians do you know who do that? Bottom line, this is all bullshit. I think A&E and what's the other company? GQ? They basically created this, and that's why there was no handler. They got free publicity, free advertisement. I didn't even know about Duck Dynasty before this. Think about it.
And that's why this is America, and you're entitled to your opinion, right or wrong.
Absolutely, and I think Phil, whatever his name is absolutely entitled to say whatever he wants. If some gay guy is felt bad about it, bullshit. Let the gay guy also say whatever he wants about Christ or Christianity or anything. Let him also have the freedom to go and get married to his partner. Why are the Christians opposing that?
Okay, so let me...
Because he's a public figure, and that makes a controversy for the broadcast company that hosts his show.
My point is, if the Christians have a problem when every time a gay guy, somebody bashes gay and say that he's a sinner or something, and the entire gay community, the entire liberal community comes against them, it is something they ask for by trying to suppress or oppress the gay community from getting. This is not a country. This is I don't know, it's a secular country. I know that Christians and Jews try to say that this country was built on the Judaistic principles, but the Constitution says no. It is basically very, and religion is completely different. And there's a huge argument about that. What the hell? If somebody wants to marry somebody, I don't care.
And that's true. Somebody wants to have sex in the Oval Office and he's the President of the United States. We're not supposed to say anything. You're absolutely correct.
Okay, so while I'm trying to figure out...
If it is not against the law, if you can't have public sex on New York... I believe in New York City, public speaking is allowed. And it's not against the law. If it is not against the local law or national law, it's fine. There is a Constitution.
So while we try to figure out why... Sreek, who's probably the richest guy on the panel, who lives in the richest city in the country, has the worst internet of anyone on the panel. Let me go to Alan. Alan, how many minutes do we have left? What are we down to?
15 minutes.
Okay, so let's get final thoughts here. Jody, did you want to weigh in? Jody, get ready, and there we go. There we go. Did you want to weigh in on this?
Sorry about that. The dogs
we're coming up against a hard break here.
Okay. I think I've already pretty much expressed my opinion, but I appreciate that everybody on this panel is entitled to their opinion as well. So that's what makes the world go round, guys.
Basically, we're all going to hell, is what Jody's saying.
Speak for yourself, Dan.
Okay. Michael Banks.
I'm totally going to hell.
Only out of courtesy, I'm asking you, because I mentioned that's kind of sexy. You in your Santa outfit on the out deck with no lighting. It's kind of makes me a little crazy inside. Michael Banks, did you want to weigh in on this at all?
Sure. I have never in my life heard of or seen Duck Dynasty other than you saying about your Duck Dynasty video.
You're in the majority, but not the news watching majority, I guess.
While y'all were talking about it, though, I did see that it's on Amazon Prime for free, so I might check it out.
There you go. Watch it. I don't think they've specifically targeted you yet. No, I just, like I said, I mean, from what I saw, they were a super nice couple, and I think I think what he said was was pretty mainstream evangelical views, just not said in a polite manner. And because he's an unsophisticated guy who was thrust into this national spotlight, not involuntarily, they sought it out. They agreed to go. I mean, if you agree to have cameras follow you around for a reality show on cable, obviously you're not shy. But at the same time, it's just, I don't know, this was crazy. And